right. Hello. We have come to the time and place for the Harris Ranch Community Infrastructure District #1 meeting of June 4th, 2024. Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Halliburton.
Here.
Stead.
Here.
Strasser.
Here.
All present.
Great. Okay, first up, we have the minutes for approval. These are the minutes from the May 21st, 2024 meeting.
Madam Chair, I move approval of the minutes from the May 21st meeting. Second.
Clerk?
Halliburton.
Yes.
Stead.
Yes.
Strasser.
Yes.
All in favor, motion carries.
Perfect. Okay, next up, we have an informational presentation on the fiscal year 2025 budget. Go ahead, Zachariah, when you're ready.
Thank you so much. Madam Chair, members of the board, good afternoon. Good to see you today. My name is Zachariah Taylor, and I'm a member of district staff. In today's budget workshop, we will present the Harris Ranch Community Infrastructure District #1's fiscal year 2025 proposed budget. The purpose of today's meeting is to obtain your feedback and confirm the direction of the fiscal 2025 budget. I will introduce the proposed budget, discuss the highlights, and then review the strategic focus and impact. It should be noted, we have updated figures from the initial slides that were sent out to you earlier, and we will review those numbers in the following slides. The 2025 budget follows similar format as previous budgets for the Community Infrastructure District. Revenues and expenditures are divided out into 3 categories: administration, general obligation bonds, and the special assessment bond. As a reminder, the admin levy is based on property values, the GO levy is based on property values, and the special assessment is based on property size or acreage. GO bond levies are generally set based on a 2.85 mil levy rate, which means that 0.285% of the market value of all property within the district, less any exemptions. The authority to issue bonds was granted by the vote of property owners in August of 2010. The admin levy covers regular operational costs of the district and is capped at 0.01% of the market value of the district, less any exemptions. The special assessment is used to pay for debt service on the 2011 special assessment bond. Each year, the properties in the assessment area are assessed based on the assessment roll. Since the purpose of the Community Infrastructure District is to accelerate the development of infrastructure, the vast majority of tax revenues are expended to pay for debt service for bonds that will refund completed infrastructure development. In Section C, on line 6, you will see $13 million allocated for a new GO bond that is from previously approved budgets. The district has not issued general obligation bonds for fiscal 22 through 24 and reserves budget for when the district will issue previously approved bonds. Before we review each of these revenue categories, we will compare the fiscal 25 budget with previous years. So this slide shows how the FY 2025 budget compares to previous years. A notable change to this budget is an increase in the taxable value of the district, which creates incremental revenue for the district this year. Therefore, a new GO bond issuance is proposed for the FY 2025 budget, and line 3 shows a $1.3 million bond line in revenue from bond proceeds. Consequently, there are also increased infrastructure expenditures represented in line 8. We will now examine each revenue component of the 25 budget in detail. Budgeted administrative costs are based on the service contracts between the district, the city, and third-party professional services. And you can see that's highlighted in column A. Compared to previous years, the FY 2025 budget continues the trend of higher revenues in line 3 and expenses in line 6 due to the ongoing litigation. The revenues in line 3 come from potential draws on the advance from the City of Boise and reimbursements from the developer. As we discussed at the beginning of this presentation, the district's purpose is to finance the construction of community infrastructure within the district. General obligation bonds are the primary vehicle used to accomplish that task. Due to current litigation, the district has not issued $13 million in GO bonds for infrastructure project, which were approved in previous budgets. This is seen on line 12 as a carryover appropriation. This budget also allocates $1.3 million for a new GO bond to be issued for future infrastructure projects. And in column D, this shows the special assessment bond. This year, we're really showing that should interest rates decline, this gives the district the budgetary authority for a refinance on the special assessment bond, which can be seen in line 5. This next slide shows projected market dynamics within the district for fiscal year 2025. So Ada County estimates the value of all properties in the district at $770 million. Last year's value was $665 million. This represents an increase of approximately $105 million. The current estimates also project the average home value in the district to rise by approximately 8.5%. The last section of this presentation highlights the impact to the taxpayer in the district in 2 distinct scenarios. The first scenario shows the impact to the average resident should the district issue at the standard 2.85 levy rate. The $104 million increase creates incremental revenue for the district that would allow a new bond to be issued for $1.3 million towards future district infrastructure. This model shows the impact to the average taxpayer would see increases of $180 from $1,769 to $1,949, while taxes from other districts would also increase. This scenario allows for more community infrastructure to be reimbursed and minimizes the amounts of the $50 million bond authorization that go to interest payments to the developer. If a bond is not issued, then any incremental revenue can be used to pay down existing outstanding bonds. The second scenario shows the impact if the district were to levy a slightly lower 2.63 mils rate, which would be based off the new construction growth values. This levy would rise the average taxpayer levy from $1,769 to $1,817, which would represent approximately $50. Under this scenario, you have the true growth from new construction paying for the funding of infrastructure. This approach minimizes the impact to the taxpayer. However, under this scenario, the district would not have the contingent revenue to issue a new GO bond and would also only be able to issue $12.6 million worth of previously approved GO bonds. This scenario still allows for any levy revenue not used for bond issuance to be used to pay down existing debt. So this ends my presentation. And at this point, staff would like to pause and ask for guidance and questions from the board. Which scenario would the board suggest that we bring forward to the public budget hearing next month? And are there any additional models or considerations that the board would like prepared and would like to see for the upcoming July public budget hearing?
Go ahead, Mike.
Thank you. Great presentation. Thank you very much for all the hard work that it's obvious that you guys have put into this. I just wanted to make sure I understand correctly what you're showing on this slide. You're showing that it looks like you're showing that for about $11 a month for the average taxpayer, we can have the ability at the conclusion of litigation next year to start functioning normally as a CID and issuing bonds for projects that exist. And that's at the full levy rate. And if we do the partial levy, it seems like we would be kind of handcuffed if the litigation ended sometime next year. We wouldn't be able to issue adequate bonds to cover existing projects. Is that correct?
Board Member Strasser, Madam Chair, thank you for the question. So to clarify, yes, if we levied at the 2.63, so on the right-hand side there, that would not create new bonding capacity, and would not allow us to issue bonds up to the 13 million that's already been approved in this year's budget.
Thank you. And additionally, it wouldn't stop the accrual of there would be remaining interest that's accruing that we already have in excess of as a result of litigation. Is that correct?
Yes, in either situation, there is an interest impact that still is ongoing. But to your point, if a bond approved and was issued according to the left-hand side, in that situation, there would be less of an interest impact.
Thank you very much.
Well, thank you. I just was gonna see, is there anything more we'd like to see before the public budget hearing?
What's the date on the public budget meeting again?
Can double check that date. I believe it is July 9th. It has been confirmed. It is July 9th.
Yeah, thank you. I think there are no further questions. Oh, go
Maybe
ahead.
just
Sorry,
one
Jimmy,
quick
go
one.
ahead.
So when we do the
Yeah.
public budget meeting, do you plan to come with these two different budgets fully worked out for one of them for us to approve? Or at this point, are you actually looking for some direction from us to look towards one of these budgets and say, bring back this budget for this meeting, and that's the direction that we're looking for?
Board Member Halliburton, Madam Chair, that is correct. I'm asking for clarification on what you would like to see presented to you in the public budget hearing. And if you would like one of these scenarios to be the primary route that we go, or if you would like to see additional information.
Thank you for the clarification. I can voice my perspective, which, I hate, we see this on the city side too. I really hate anytime we have to think about pulling on taxes in any capacity. But given the current financial state and the litigation, the funds that are going towards litigation, including the 6 million plus that we owe in interest, and the position that this puts us in, I'm inclined to lean towards the full levy for this year. But I would be curious to hear how my fellow board members feel about it.
Given what we know from your informational presentations in the past and from the information that you presented here, I'm inclined to lean towards the full levy as well. However, of course, I think that decision is reserved for a later date. But based on the information, that would be where I would expect the paths to go, I suppose.
Madam Chair.
Yes, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah,
Board
I
Member
would,
Halliburton.
I'm in line with my colleagues on this one. I think, there's a couple of challenges here. One certainly is the litigation, which, we all know about. I think the other thing that's important to look at is that these increases in what people's property taxes, they're not just because of the CID, it's because of an increase in the property values in general. And sometimes it's really hard for folks when they see this to understand where these numbers come from, and is it the city who's doing these different types of things, but really it's tied to those property values. And I was a little bit surprised this year that those went up as much as I thought they're going to stay a little bit more level, like we had seen last year. And so that was a little bit of a surprise to me. But again, I do think that if we're setting ourselves up to succeed in the future, I'm more inclined to look at the full levy rate, because once we get things taken care of, it really gives us the ability to start moving forward, to get the projects done that people want to see, and really advance that infrastructure that I think we're committed to doing.
Zachary, one
you.
more question for you. Is there ever an opportunity, and wouldn't expect that to be this year, given our current situation, but is there an opportunity at a future date to consider freezing the levy number so that that's not fluctuating year to year?
Madam Chair, thank you for that question. I do not know the answer to that, but that's something I can research and get back to you on that
Thank
question.
you.
Madam Chair.
Yes, please go ahead, board member.
I've wanted two additional questions, I guess. So following on to what she said, I guess what that made me think of was once all the projects have been approved and bonds issued, at that point, does the district increase in value still matter, or are we just servicing the rest of the bonds till their, completion? That's where that led me to think. I'll let you guys go back and crunch on that for a while and figure out the answer to her question, of course. And then my other question is, with the property values, I think the assessments have been sent out already for the district. By the time the budget meeting happens next month, these numbers, there won't be any more fluctuations, correct? We'll know exactly the value of the district. Is that correct?
Yeah. David will answer your first question there.
Yeah, so Madam Chair, Board Member Strasser, with regards to your first question about what will happen once all the bonds have actually been issued, the board then has the ability to choose whether or not they want to adjust the levy downward. My understanding, and this is something we'd have to confirm with council, is that we could not raise the levy above the current debt service to accelerate payments. But instead, what would happen is that functionally for the residents, as the district value goes up, the relative levy that each resident pays will go down. So from that standpoint, it doesn't make as big a difference to the district itself and the revenue it's collecting, but it will make a significant difference to the residents as the values continue to grow up, because then the budget changes from being one where it's a relatively it's a fixed levy, and so that causes people's property taxes to change, and you have a variable budget. But when all the bonds have been issued, then it becomes a fixed budget, and it functions a lot more similarly to the way the city of Boise's budget works, where the budget is relatively fixed. You have small changes in the budget itself. And so that's the dynamic that will have an impact, is that once all the bonds are issued, then increases in value will actually lower the property taxes for the individual residents. Does that answer the question?
Thank you.
Oh, great. All right, Zach, can you do?
And just to confirm, would the board like to see anything else on the upcoming presentation? Is there anything else that you would like considered?
One thing that it's been helpful into some of our city council budgets, and I think we talked about this last time, you vocally kind of told us what the difference in the increase, was going to be. Sometimes it's nice to actually see that number so we can see that, like, this is a $50 increase, this is $113 increase per person. So I think that just having that, like, nice and available and easy for the public to see when it has, when you present back to us, makes it easy for them to see that number without having to jump in there and try to do any math on the spot.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you. I think that probably does it. Yeah, I appreciate the presentation and breaking it down for us so clearly. If there's nothing else from staff, is there more from staff? No.
Not at this time, no.
Okay. If there's nothing else from staff, then I would look for a motion to adjourn.
Madam Chair, I move that we adjourn.
Second.
Clerk?
Halliburton,
Yes.
Stead,
Yes.
Strasser.
Yes.
All in favor, motion carries.
Thank you. We are adjourned.